9 everyday things that are hurting your dog's feelings? Your dog has been giving you signals every single day, and you've been missing them. Not because you don't love your dog. You clearly do. But because nobody ever taught you how to read them. Today that changes. I'm going to show you 9 things you are almost certainly doing right now that are quietly crushing your dog's emotional world, and for each one, I'm going to tell you exactly what to do instead. Because once you see this, you cannot unsee it. And your dog deserves better than accidental pain. Let's start with the one that happens the moment you walk through your front door. 1. You greet your dog with frantic, overwhelming energy. And you think it's love. You've been gone for 8 hours. Your dog has been waiting. The second you open that door, you go high-pitched. Your hands are everywhere. You're saying their name over and over in that excited, rapid-fire way. You're squeezing them, lifting their face, talking right at their eyes. And your dog is spinning in circles, jumping, maybe even peeing a little. You think, they love this. This is joy. Here's what's actually happening inside their nervous system. Dogs process greetings through a system called social buffering, where the presence and behavior of a trusted companion regulates their stress response. When you explode through the door with maximum intensity, you don't calm that system, you spike it. Heart rate goes up, cortisol floods. The spinning and jumping you're reading as happiness is often displacement behavior, a stress response that has no outlet. A 2020 study published in Applied Animal Behavior Science found that dogs whose owners greeted them with calm, low arousal behavior showed faster physiological recovery from the stress of separation than dogs who received chaotic, excitable greetings. The dog who gets the calm owner isn't less loved. They're more regulated. They feel safer. What to do instead? When you come home, pause at the door. Take a breath. Walk in quietly. Let your dog come to you. Get down to their level. Pet them slowly with long strokes. Speak in a lower register than you normally would. Within 60 seconds, you'll feel the difference. They'll settle into you instead of bouncing off you. That settling is relief. That is what your dog actually needed. 2. You stare directly into your dog's eyes and call it a bonding moment. You've heard that maintaining eye contact with your dog builds trust. There's even some science suggesting that mutual gazing between dogs and their owners releases oxytocin, the same bonding hormone triggered by eye contact between mothers and infants. That's all true. And it's also wildly misapplied by most people. Here's the critical detail the headlines left out. That research was conducted on dogs who initiated the eye contact or who held it mutually and willingly. The key variable is consent, not the gaze itself. In canine social language, a direct, unbroken stare from a creature standing over you is not warmth. It is a challenge. It is what a dominant animal does to a subordinate one before a confrontation. The whale eye, where your dog shows the whites of their eyes while turning their head slightly away, is a stress signal. Lip licking, a subtle yawn, turning their head, suddenly becoming very interested in the floor. These are all calming signals, your dog trying politely to tell you, this feels threatening. Please stop. When you grab your dog's face to hold it toward yours and lock eyes, you're not connecting. In their language, you're pinning them in a stare down they didn't choose and cannot escape. What to do instead? Let your dog decide when to look at you. Train soft eye contact, the kind where your dog glances at you and you immediately mark it and reward it. That taught behavior becomes real connection over time. When you do hold eye contact with your dog, make sure they're soft. Relaxed brow, loose body, no whale eye. And always let them look away first. The dog who looks at you freely on their own terms trusts you completely. That's the eye contact worth having. 3. You use your voice as a volume dial. And your dog only hears one channel. Here's something most people don't know about dogs and human speech. Dogs are exceptionally good at reading vocal tone, but they have almost no capacity to parse the actual words being said the way you think they do. What they hear primarily is pattern, pitch, and emotional valence. This matters because of what happens when you repeat yourself. You say sit, nothing. You say sit again, nothing. By the third time, your voice has changed. There's an edge now. By the fifth, you might be saying it sharply or loudly, or drawing it out in that frustrated way. Sit, I said sit. And your dog, who already heard the first cue and may not have understood it, or may be anxious, or may be distracted, now hears something entirely different. They hear a shift in your emotional state. They hear something is wrong. They hear the sound of a human who is escalating. And the response to that isn't obedience. The response is shutdown, appeasement, or stress. The dog who rolls over and shows their belly when you repeat commands loudly isn't being submissive. They're in distress. They learned that human escalation precedes something unpleasant, and they're trying to make it stop using the only social tool they have. That's not a trained behavior. That's a trauma response. What to do instead? Say the cue once. If your dog doesn't respond, ask yourself 3 questions. Did they hear me? Did they understand? Are they physically and emotionally able to comply right now? Then address whichever answer is no. If they know the behavior, check for distractions. Reduce the environment. Return to a reinforcement history. Lower your own emotional intensity first. Your dog is always reading you before they're reading the cue. Lead with calm and clarity, not repetition and frustration. 4. You punish your dog after the fact and believe they understand why. This one has destroyed the trust between millions of dogs and the people who love them, and it's built entirely on a misunderstanding of how animal memory works. You come home. There is a destroyed couch cushion on the floor. Your dog slinks over to you with their tail tucked, ears pinned back, and that unmistakable look you've always called the guilty face. And you think they know. They know what they did, so you respond to it. You point to the cushion. You say their name in that tone. Maybe you raise your voice. Maybe you put them outside. Here's the neuroscience. Dogs do not possess episodic memory in the way humans do. They cannot retrieve a specific past event, the thing I did 2 hours ago, and connect it to a present consequence. Their associative memory is powerful, but it is also ruthlessly present tense. What your dog can connect is, this human just walked in the door and immediately made the signals of threat and anger. I am in danger right now. I need to make appeasement behaviors immediately. The guilty face is not guilt. It has been confirmed experimentally. A 2009 study by Alexandra Horowitz at Barnard College showed that dogs displayed guilt-like body language based entirely on owner behavior, not their own prior actions. Dogs who had done nothing wrong, but whose owners believed they had, still showed the guilty face. Because they were reading you, not remembering their behavior. When you punish after the fact, you're not teaching your dog not to destroy cushions. You are teaching your dog that your arrival sometimes means something terrible happens, for no reason they can understand. Over time, that creates a dog who is anxious around your comings and goings. A dog who cannot fully relax in your presence. A dog who learned that you are unpredictable. What to do instead? Manage the environment. If your dog chews things when unsupervised, they should not have unsupervised access to chewable things until the training is done. Crates, baby gates, and closed doors are not punishments. They are management tools. Address the behavior in real time when it happens, or redirect before it begins. And when you come home to a mess, take a breath, clean it up, and remind yourself that your dog's memory simply does not work the way you've been assuming it does. 5. You force your dog into physical interactions they've clearly said no to. Your dog walks away. You follow. Your dog turns their head. You cup their face back toward you. Your dog goes stiff when a stranger reaches for them. You say, "It's okay, he's friendly," and let the stranger pet them anyway. You are not being affectionate. You are teaching your dog that their communication does not work on you. And that lesson, once learned, has consequences that go far beyond the moment. Dogs communicate discomfort through a cascade of increasingly obvious signals, what behavioral scientists call the stress signal ladder. It begins with subtle things: yawning when they're not tired, licking their nose, turning their head, suddenly sniffing the ground. Then it escalates: whale eye, stiffening, leaning away, pawing to get free. Then the hard signals: growling, snapping, biting. Every level of that ladder exists because the previous level failed to communicate the message. Every time you override a dog's soft signal, you push them one rung closer to the hard ones. The dog who bites seemingly without warning, that dog warned many times. Every warning was ignored. Eventually, the dog learned that warnings don't work, so they stopped using them. That's not an aggressive dog. That's a dog whose trust in communication was systematically eroded. What to do instead? Learn the signals. Practice reading your dog's body. The full body, not just the tail. Tail wags can accompany highly stressed dogs. Watch the eyes, the ears, the mouth, the posture, the weight distribution. When you see any calming signal, create space. Let your dog choose to return to you. And when your dog moves away from something or someone, that movement is communication. Honor it. The dog who is never forced into interactions becomes, over time, a dog who chooses them freely. That dog is actually safer and more social in the long run because their yes means yes. 6. You leave your dog alone without ever teaching them how. This one is one of the most widespread sources of chronic dog suffering in the modern world, and most owners have no idea it's happening because it happens in secret while they're gone. Separation anxiety, or more accurately, isolation distress, is not misbehavior, it's a panic response. Dogs are intensely social animals, more deeply bonded to their social group than almost any other domesticated species. When their person leaves, their brain interprets that event not as they'll be back at 5:30, but as my pack has disappeared, and I don't know if they're coming back at all. The resulting state is genuine physiological panic, elevated cortisol, heart rate spikes, the stress neurochemistry of an emergency. The destruction, the howling, the scratching at doors. Those are not a dog acting out of spite or boredom. Those are the behaviors of a creature in a panic state, trying to escape a perceived threat or locate their missing social unit. Punishing those behaviors is the equivalent of punishing someone for hyperventilating during a panic attack and then leaving again. And here's what makes this worse. Most people, without knowing it, have accidentally trained their dogs to associate a very specific sequence of cues with terror. You put on your shoes. You pick up your keys. You grab your bag. You say, "Be good, bye-bye." And by the second step in that sequence, your dog's cortisol is already climbing. The anxiety doesn't start when you leave. It starts with the shoes. What to do instead? Systematically desensitize the pre-departure cues first. Pick up your keys and then sit down and watch TV. Put on your shoes and then make breakfast. Scramble the ritual until it no longer predicts your absence. Then practice absences, starting at seconds, not minutes. Leave. Come back before the anxiety peaks. Build tolerance the way you'd build any muscle, gradually with rest and without overstressing the system. A dog who has been taught that alone time is survivable, and even sometimes pleasant with the right enrichment, is a fundamentally different dog than one who has simply learned to suffer through it. 7. You speak to your dog constantly, and never let there be silence. Dogs co-evolved with humans over approximately 15,000 years. In that time, they developed an extraordinary sensitivity to human communication. Voice, face, body, gesture. They are arguably the most socially attuned non-human animals on the planet. And that sensitivity can be overwhelmed. Many owners fill every moment of cohabitation with words, commentary, instructions, questions, baby talk, narration of activities, constant names. "Oh, you're such a good boy. Yes, you are. Look at you. What are you doing? Come here? Where are you going? What's wrong? Do you want a treat? Do you? And the dog, whose auditory cortex is processing this entire stream, essentially learns to tune it out because they have to. Because the signal-to-noise ratio has collapsed. The consequence is real, your actual cues, the words you want them to respond to, disappear into the background noise of everything else you say. Your dog learns that language from you is a stream, not a signal. And then you wonder why they don't come when called. There's a second consequence, more subtle and more important. Dogs find certain kinds of human vocal presence actually stressful when it's excessive and emotionally high-pitched. Research on dogs in shelters found that classical music reduced cortisol significantly more than human speech. Your constant verbal presence, especially if it's emotionally loaded, may actually be raising your dog's baseline stress level throughout the day. What to do instead? Let there be silence. Real silence together. Sit with your dog and don't narrate it. When you do give cues, give them once, clearly, at a conversational volume. Make your voice something that carries information rather than a constant ambient soundtrack. The words you use least frequently will matter to your dog the most. 8. You walk your dog on your schedule and call it exercise. Every morning you take your dog out. You walk at your pace, on your route for your time. You check your phone. You keep the leash short. Every time your dog stops to sniff something, you say, "Come on," and keep moving. 20 minutes. Home. Done. Your dog was barely there. The nose is not an accessory for your dog. It is their primary cognitive organ. Olfaction in dogs processes an estimated 100,000 to 300,000 times more data per sniff than human olfaction does. The world your dog lives in is made almost entirely of scent. A three-dimensional, time-indexed, emotionally rich information environment that your eyes will never perceive. When they stop at a fire hydrant, they are not being slow. They are reading a detailed post from every dog who has passed there in the last 18 hours. A 2019 study published in Applied Animal Behavior Science found that dogs who were allowed to engage in sniffing on walks showed measurably lower cortisol levels and higher optimism scores in subsequent cognitive tasks compared to dogs who were walked the same distance on a controlled, sniff-restricted leash. The dogs who sniffed were, by behavioral measurement, happier, not because they walked further, because they were allowed to be a dog. What to do instead? Give your dog what trainers call a sniff walk or a decompression walk. Let the dog lead. Let them stop. Let them circle. Let them spend 4 minutes on one patch of grass if that's what they need. You are not wasting time. You are giving your dog access to their primary language, their mental exercise, and their emotional regulation. 20 minutes of real sniffing is more restorative to a dog than an hour of brisk, restricted walking. Your dog's walk is not supposed to be your workout. It is supposed to be their world. 9. You interpret every behavior through a human emotional lens and miss what your dog is actually telling you. This is the one that underlies every behavior on this list. It is the root cause of almost every avoidable failure in the human-dog relationship. We are a deeply narrative species. We see faces in clouds. We assign motive to random events. And when we share our lives with a dog, a creature we love, who sleeps in our beds, who makes eye contact with us and reacts to our emotions, the pull to project our inner world onto theirs is almost irresistible. So the dog who destroys things becomes spiteful. The dog who won't come when called becomes stubborn. The dog who cowers becomes dramatic. The dog who growls when cornered becomes aggressive. And in each case, we have replaced a behavioral truth with a narrative, and then responded to the narrative instead of the behavior. Spite requires the ability to premeditate a punishing act, connect it to a past offense, and execute it with the intent to cause emotional harm. Dogs are not cognitively built for that. Stubbornness requires a conscious decision to override a known command out of willfulness. A dog who won't come when called has either not learned the cue well enough, has a poisoned recall from past punishment, or is in an environment that has outcompeted your reinforcement. Aggression in a cornered dog is communication from an animal that has run out of better options. None of these are personality flaws. All of them are information. What to do instead? Ask a different first question. Not, why is my dog doing this to me? But, what is my dog trying to tell me? What is the need underneath the behavior? What is the emotion driving it? What in the environment is creating it? Behavior is always functional. It exists because it is working for the dog in some way. Getting relief, getting distance, getting safety, getting attention, getting stimulation. Once you find the function, you can meet the need legitimately. And when the need is met legitimately, the problem behavior stops. Not because you dominated it, not because you punished it, because you finally understood it. Here is what all of this comes back to. Your dog exists in a permanent state of trusting you to understand them. They cannot explain themselves. They cannot file a complaint. They cannot leave a review. All they can do is keep sending signals through their body, their behavior, their choices, and hope that someday, someone on the other side of the leash learns to receive them. That someone can be you. Start with one thing on this list, just one. Watch what changes. Dogs are extraordinarily forgiving. They do not require that you were perfect before. They only require that you are better now. And for an animal who has given everything to be in your life, that is the very least they deserve. If this changed how you see your dog, share it with one person who loves theirs. Subscribe to Canine Mind and leave a comment. Which one of these were you doing without realizing it? We read every single one.